Check It Out Comrade, an indie game podcast where every 2 weeks we bring you 2 indie games and tell you what we like about them. I'm Nick Glauber.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this week we're doing 2 games from Jason Rohrer, Passage and Inside of Starfield Sky.
Yeah. This is an indie game developer who does these really kind of amazing, beautiful art games.
He's a real interesting guy. He's real known for he's like an amazing developer. He does these cool little art games. He's published some articles I've read about simple living. Apparently he lives on very little money. Him and his family of 4 have a budget of less than $1,450 or $14,500 per year, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's pretty crazy. So yeah, he's published a lot of stuff, but these are 2 of his bigger titles, so we're gonna talk a little bit about them. So let's go ahead and get started with Inside of Starfield Sky. What do you like about Inside of Starfield Sky, Gary?
I like Inside a Starfield Sky because it has all of the complexity and tactical interest of a game like Isaac without the end goal to it. Mm-hmm. So it's about these kind of infinite permutations on a character, but it's relaxing. It's hard to do a tactical shooter and have it be relaxing. Mm-hmm. And Inside of Starfield Sky is relaxing to play. Yeah. Partly just because of that low consequence feeling to it. I don't think you can die in it permanently. It's not, the game can't end.
In multiple ways. There's no ending to it. It's real I do some development stuff on me. It's like a feat of development prowess here. This is so infinite, and it's really cool how much there is just permutation after permutation, how much it keeps track of that you can backtrack and forward track through. It's listed as a tactile shooter, but it's basically little 2D overhead shooter where you are a little cool designed procedurally generated little pixel ship or creature, depending on how you look at it, and you shoot bullets at other random ones that are around the screen and can find these upward exits. But what actually happens when you hit those is it turns out the level you were in is actually another creature ship just like the one you were playing as, and you are now playing as that. And the little upgrades you collected along the way are now powering that new one that you've just come into.
Right, so you're constantly collecting power-ups that you don't use for your current incarnation, but that you can use for your next incarnation.
Right, for the level above you.
Yes, so that's the kind of one aspect of interest. Another aspect of interest is the weapon upgrades are very, very are kind of varied. So they're just normal things like range and damage. But I don't think there's damage, range and rate of fire and stuff. Mm-hmm. But then there's also homing amount and whether they burst and whether they, shoot around corners or whether they bounce off walls, and all to different degrees. And you can only hold 3 things at once. So and it's the most three recent you've picked up. So you're managing that as well. What do I want when I leave this this layer? Kind of just picking up these combinations.
Yep.
To suit your playstyle, and how do you think you can best get past the challenges?
And each of these upgrades that are scattered around the level are all level 1, no matter what, as you're finding them. But takes another interesting twist, and it kind of introduces you to this concept as you're playing it. But you can actually enter those upgrades, and now you're playing as another little ship that's inside that upgrade. And the upgrades that you collect inside of that, with that ship, affect the upgrade and level it up in different ways.
Yeah. So
then when you go up a level again, you can collect that upgrade that you just leveled, and now it's going to be higher levels or have different effects based on what you picked up inside of it.
Mm-hmm. And further, you can actually go inside enemies as well and affect them. You have the power to kind of go inside anything in the game. So power-ups, enemies, etc. And it kind of just has this whole idea of everything being inside. It's a game. Jason Rohrer does games about things, and if this is about anything, it's about this idea of scale. Mm-hmm. So we may think that we are the prime characters in doing this thing, but really, we could very well just be an amoeba on the planet that is a prime character in the galaxy, which very well could be just a bit of the universe, etc. And then going infinitely smaller as well.
Yeah, it's a fantastic exploration of recursiveness and the infinite. It's super cool.
Yeah, and just really impressive, very pretty. He does all the music for his games as well, and they all have these very relaxing kind of bit soundtracks to them. I think that the kind of relaxed feel of this game comes from that. And the tactical angle to it is very interesting because the enemies move in, they don't really have AI. They're more like obstacles. Like they move in set patterns and shoot at a set rate. So you have to try to build a beam that can get them from relative safety.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the challenge comes from. If you want it.
A note about the music in this one, I'm pretty sure a lot of it is actually procedurally generated as well.
Interesting.
When you're making, at the very beginning of the game, you make a flag, and that flag, as you edit it, changes the tones and timing of the notes in the music that's playing.
Oh, that's very cool.
So it's just like procedural, recursive everything.
Yeah.
It's super, super neat idea.
Yeah. Without having like an end game or a story or anything like that. Like it's one of these games that does not, it is more like a toy. Like you sit down with it and play it for a while and kind of explore it as opposed to try to conquer it.
Yep.
Because it's about like that infinity aspect, and it's very beautiful. I was really glad I got a chance to play it. Like I played several of this guy's games, but I hadn't played this one before, so very happy to do so.
Yeah, I think this was one of, if not his first commercial effort. So his first time not releasing just a free game online. So
yeah, it's interesting too, the idea that his simple living thing and how it allows him this kind of freedom. Like you can do these projects that are very much labors of love and very beautiful, but maybe are not mainstream whatsoever. Like even, we do a lot of indie games, and people who make indie games can make livings at it from time to time because even though they're independent, they're much more commercial and gamey than this.
Yeah, much more mass appeal.
Yeah, and he can do something like this because he's got such a low overhead. If you only have to make, $15,000 a year, you can take whatever risk you want.
Yeah.
And there's a real freedom that comes across in like kind of everything about this guy and his work. So
agreed. And that's even more explored in his other game we're going to cover, which is Passage.
Yep. This is an earlier game. It's his third game, and it was the one that I first heard of him from.
Yeah, me too.
As the game that kind of got tons of attention. And Passage is much more like, Passage takes 5 minutes to play. It is much more of a statement.
Yes.
Than a mechanical thing than in a star-filled sky. Much more of just kind of an idea expressed in a ludic form.
Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and give my little blurb about this when I first discovered it, which I believe was some point right after it was released because it kind of caused a stir in all of the online gaming media and stuff. I played it and if you're not aware, it's a very low resolution game on a very small horizontal scale. You have a large
or very small vertical.
Yeah, sorry. So it's large window horizontally, very small vertical line to it, and I just held right the entire time, and didn't really realize there was more to it. I think there's some of that was sort of a point to it, but spent the whole game. I liked it. I still got a message from it, doing just that. But it wasn't until I learned later that you could actually go down and left and right, and there was more to sort of the statement and the game itself than just going right and watching this video.
Yeah, that's definitely a big part of it. I think is that what is there, because if passage refers to the passage of someone's life. That becomes clear, and the idea of there being things that you can explore, but you can't see them from where you're at. Being a big theme, like what you can see from where you're at in life and in the game is really important. That's one of the things. How much of your, when you start the game, relatively you're very far on the left side of the screen, and as you move to the right, your relative position creeps slowly to the right, as you have more of your life behind you and less of your life ahead of you. Which means, and there are less things to explore as you get further to the right. And probably the biggest kind of gut punch of the game is very early on you have the choice to take a wife.
Yes.
Or not.
And the choice as to whether or not you run into the wife character at the top of the screen actually severely limits your ability to explore some of the areas in the rest of the game. There's sort of blockways in the path that only can fit one character, and as two of you with her following you, you're actually blocked from going through these areas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're joined together, and so you have this wider horizontal space, and you can't fit through certain narrow blocks. Just in the way that in life, if you choose to commit yourself to somebody, you're giving up a lot.
Yep.
In order to not do this journey alone.
Yes.
Which is very beautiful. And the game expresses this idea in every part of it. I mean, the colors get more washed out. For being as low resolution as it is, and the characters look like Atari characters, they age.
Yep.
As you go to the right, which is really impressive. Like, they get a lot of detail out of a very small number of pixels. And just really express this idea. And at a certain point, maybe about 5/6 the way through, your wife will die.
Yep.
And turns into a little tombstone. And you just kind of have to go on without her, and everything is still gray and shitty. And the only difference is you're doing it alone.
Yep.
So, yeah, when we say it takes about 5 minutes, it's exactly 5 minutes.
It's exactly 5 minutes. Yeah, no matter what, the game takes 5 minutes.
That is your lifespan. You have a limited amount of time.
So how far you choose to explore in any direction within those 5 minutes is completely up to you. You might, if you do what I did and hold straight right, you will get as far right as you possibly can. But there's a lot of sights and twists and turns in, purely the paths there are that you won't find, you won't see. Mm-hmm. But going through those twists and turns and doing more exploration, and actually there's even items to collect that increase a score that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
But doing those will eat up more of your 5 minutes, and you won't have traveled as much distance, seen as much sights in the same amount of time.
Right. And the one secret thing is that if you get them all, you unlock versus mode. So where you and your wife at the end try to complete the passage fastest. Yeah, and they're represented in like super, one of the things I love about Passage is using the language and semiotics of video games in a way. Like it's video game literate without being, an actual enjoyable game on its own. Like right. It's like a treasure box. We know that is something good. That can symbolize something, but we have this immediate response because, we have the same response we had when Mario sees a coin, Yeah. It's very beautiful. It is in 2012, it is a permanent part of the collection at the Museum of Modern Art.
Which is fantastic. It's totally deserving. I'm so glad that this game is one of them that is, selectively picked to be representative of games as art.
Yeah. And one of the games he's still done, he's kept going. One of the games I have not played yet, but I really want to play, that his most recent game is called The Castle Doctrine.
Yeah, I haven't played that yet.
Yeah, I'm really interested in that. We should do that for the show at some point.
Yeah, maybe. I'm interested in. I hear like it's about home defense, and I know it's a very much a statement game, and I'm not sure what his statement is, and that's sort of one of the it's one of the very few like political arguments that I actually stand in a gray area on. So I'm interested to see his sort of argument made through this MMO.
Yeah, I would be interested as well.
So, but yeah, some of his other games that I have played, Sleep is Death was a really cool one.
Sleep is Death is cool.
It's a it unfortunately didn't have the following it needed to actually be a really cool thing, but it was essentially a 2-player game where one player is playing the game and the other player is making the game, because there's no game to itself. It's the player can type things in, say what their action is, and then the creator can manipulate the scene to respond to the player's inputs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a super neat concept. Really hard to do right, but he did a pretty good job of it, giving you this big toolkit of objects you can quickly place on the map, and ability to sort of type things out as a narrator, as a character. So
it's hard to find people to play it with.
Yeah.
Like, it's the kind of the big problem with Sleep is Death. Like, I like it, but it was very rare that I was able to play with anybody. I've also played Gravitation, which there's actually a 3DS on the 3DS eShop. There is a Jason Rohrer pack.
Oh, really?
You can
That's
download.
neat.
Yeah, that is Passage, Gravitation, and maybe Transcend, maybe his first one. It's with 3 games. I can't remember what the third one is, but Gravitation's a cool game and is about, I think it's about his daughter and what it's like raising a child and the kind of connection. It has a lot to do with like the mechanics change depending on how far apart you are, and as you grow farther apart as you move up, kind of climbing this tower, and that's a very neat game as well.
And I own probably his most gamey game, which is Diamond Trust of London, which is a like incredibly complex strategy game about the diamond industry in Africa from the English that is for Nintendo DS. Actually, he had a Kickstarter. He had already completed the game and did a Kickstarter to get the cartridge buy order to Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
And came with a bunch of cool goodies about this actual historical time period and stuff. And I think you and I tried to play it on the Busta PAX one year, and it's incredibly complex.
It's obtuse.
So, yeah, it's obtuse as hell. So cool game, cool developer, but that's one that unfortunately fell a little short on you and I.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. It just we did not have the patience for it.
Yeah,
we were on a bus.
Right.
Probably not the best time and best place to try that. But all in all, huzzah to Jason Rohrer.
Agreed. Super cool guy. Keep making games, man.
Yeah, interested in anything else he does. So cool. What can people do?
Well, they can contribute to our Patreon that we've currently or recently set up. It's just a couple bucks a month if you can afford it. Will help us and the rest of the Duckfeed.tv network keep our shows running, and you get to some extra benefits based on how much you are able to put in. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And if you want to hang out and talk to us and everything, we are on Twitter at Comrade Pod. Or is it Comrade Podcast or Comrade Pod?
Comrade Podcast.
Okay, I thought so. And then on Facebook at facebook.com/check it out Comrade.
Yep.
And go on there, suggest games, talk to us about games we've done, etc.
And with every podcast, we always would love for you to tell your friends about us and rate and review us on iTunes to get us in the eyes and ears of more listeners like you.
Yeah, especially in the eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, just so they just stare at their iPod while listening. Just watch that logo go.
It's a nice logo.
Yeah, it is. It's a very good logo. Well done, Nick. Yeah. And that was not the trip to PAX that we conceived of the show. That was the year before.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was actually conceived on a trip to PAX.
Yeah, PAX has played a big role in the formation of and games towards Comrade.
Yeah. When is fucking Crypt of the Necrodancer going to come out so we can drop everything and do it?
Yeah, I'm really excited for that shit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we have some good stuff coming up, and thank you very much for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.